Carl and Lou here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. And it's tier list time as we're diving into something horror related, zombie specific. We're going to be ranking 30 zombie horror movies, 30 random ones chosen by me on the basis of have both of us likely seen a lot of them, or have I at least seen them, and that kind of thing. There are obviously a ton more. Some big ones missing off this list. It is a random amount of 30. Just going to see where they land. There are a couple I don't think necessarily you've seen or you might remember as well, but that'd be ones I tend to cover more than anything else. But the majority, these are pretty famous ones or fairly well known ones that you've seen in the last couple of years since you've been doing these videos and things like that. So 30 of them. We've got 5 rankings. A little bit different this time. We do still have the top, which is the best. Very self-explanatory. The best zombie movies. Then we've got Brain Muncher, which effectively falls into the great category. So not as good, not the best, but still a damn fine film. Middle, gory enough, e.g. good, decent movie, probably never going to rave about it. Soggy Mess is average, below average kind of thing, okay. And the worst at the very bottom. So the best and the worst bookend, a load of the middle ones. There is a thing... Zombies. Obviously, it's quite open and varied. Define what you believe a zombie is. You know, when it comes to certain things like 28 Days Later and all that, there's a question about whether or not they deserve to be called zombies. You get the stuff like Wreck, and you end up getting, particularly once you've seen Wreck 2, you start getting a bit more of complication about are they zombies in the conventional sense and stuff like that. I've thrown that all out the window. I'm going on the basis that what we define as a zombie movie is a zombie movie. As simple as that.
Yeah, because zombies can cover so many things as well.
Well, how do you contrast, say, the zombies from the classic Romero trilogy to the zombies from Return of the Living Dead? Already you run into a problem there. Do you see what I mean? But, you know, reanimated dead, that's why I look at it.
And the fact it's fictional, and the fact they have all different rules and stuff, it's like, well, there you go, there's tons of zombies in. It's just supposed to be a bit of fun. Just like this tier list is, if you don't agree with it, hey, that's on you. It's our opinion, simple as that. So, let's get started with a nice, easy one to rank up really high. It's Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive for the rest of the world. Obviously, the Peter Jackson gore fest, New Zealand, tongue-in-cheek comedy, horror, slapstick at times, but famous more than anything else for its incredible level of gore. It's a movie I've seen tons of times. Same here, and just there's certain parts of it I still feel a bit queasy thinking about. The earring in the ear in the... Ugh, no, I'm not even going to go.
Oh, yeah, the custard.
The custard, not soup.
The custard, the pus and the custard. And Your Mother Ate My Dog, and the obviously insane chainsaw ending. I mean, chainsaw... What do you call it? The
lawnmower.
Lawnmower.
Yeah.
There we go, that thing. The buckets of blood, the gore, the general slapstick nature of all of that. It's... a great film. It is a great film that holds up by today's standards purely because it's batshit crazy. As a zombie film, because
I do like the fun element of it, and I think the fact it's Australian.
New
Zealand, sorry. I want to get it
that one right.
The fact it's from New Zealand, I think it's just as a level of like completely different to like English or I'm trying to get out the accents make it in its class of its own. I really like this film.
I think I agree with what you're saying. The dated aspect of the movie doesn't come across because it's not a location I'm familiar with. I didn't grow up with Peter Jackson knowing bad taste, his earlier work before, so I had no correlation to him doing that stuff. I just saw Brain Dead way before Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, so this was my first real taste of Peter Jackson's kind of behaviour back then. Here's the thing, I want to judge these on zombie movies more than anything else. The comedy's decent, the character stuff's decent, some fun acting and stuff like that. When it comes down to balls to the wall, zombie horror, where they're eating the dead and they're causing chaos and stuff like that, eating the living, should I say, to me it's the best. The best. Because I just think about like the slow build up where just some people turn here and there, like the priest, the nurse and all that's fun. But then you do get to that last 30 minutes in the house. And
it goes mad.
And it goes mental. And there's some great shit in there. There's great imagination used there, you know, whether it's the innards that come to life and is effectively a zombie itself. There's no seemingly real way to destroy these zombies, because even like when their heads are decapitated. Like there's one that gets decapitated from the mouth up, and you can still see his eyes moving. So I like that aspect. That's a very Return of the Living Dead style aspect, that's still not enough to destroy them.
I definitely think it's got to be up at the top.
Let's start with putting it in the best. Absolutely, it's the one to start with. Okay, Cooties. Little less known, this one. This was a couple of years back, maybe a bit longer than that, and it's a comedy horror that stars Leah Whannell and Frodo himself.
Cooties. I don't think I've seen Cooties.
Really? Okay. Elijah Wood.
Yep. Briefly.
So the teacher's in a primary school with young kids.
Yep.
And the kids all get infected with, become zombies. It's the kids who are zombies in this,
Yeah.
and they're having to survive stuck in this primary school.
No, it sounds fun though.
And it's a comedy horror. I must say, Leah Whannell, who you'll know best as being in Saw, the original Saw, but also the writer and creator alongside James Wan for a lot of those movies and stuff like that. He's very funny in this. Very, very funny in this. This is a fun movie. It's not like a great zombie horror, although I did admire the bravery to basically go on zombies' kids.
Yep.
And it can be quite gory and violent at times. Some of the people you actually quite like in the movie end up dying. So I think it's quite a fun little movie. It's not well known, so I think that maybe hurts a little bit. I'm going to put this one, because it's just me, in gory enough. Put it slap bang in the middle. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Oh, you should see that one.
Dawn of the Dead, 2004. So this is the Dawn of the Dead remake. Zack Snyder? It's Zack Snyder, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Obviously, when it was first announced, everyone was kind of like, don't do that, it's a terrible idea. Dawn of the Dead is a bit of a classic. And when it came out, pretty much, majority of people went, yeah, alright, it's fine. Or you either loved it, or you thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I fell into the latter camp. I thought it was fine. I thought it started off really strongly. The sort of the what do they call those places?
Stuck in a suburb.
Cul-de-sac,
yes.
that sort of area.
Yeah.
And that opening is really, really strong. I think it drops off a little bit way as they get into the mall and that aspect and things like that. The things that are different, I don't mind. I appreciate that it's running and fast zombies to clearly differentiate between the two. Yeah. But there are parts of the movie I just don't like. I didn't like the zombie baby part. I thought that was downright silly. Yeah. I also thought you got a little bit obsessed with look at the scale, and some of it came across not realistic. But it's got a very downbeat ending. I quite enjoyed that too. It can be quite frantic and nerve-wracking at times, because it's fast-moving zombies and stuff like that. I think it's a decent movie.
Yeah, it's good enough. It's not going to get anywhere close to the best. I say gory enough.
Same here. I'm going to put it after Cooties, because Cooties is original.
Yeah.
Whereas Dawn of the Dead is a remake. Talking of Dawn of the Dead, the original movie here, one of George Romero's trilogy of the Dead trilogy, the original trilogy that is Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead is often cited as people's favourite. I used to believe that. I actually like Day of the Dead more these days, but Dawn of the Dead is still an incredible movie that balances light humour with really harrowing stuff, focuses on a core small cast. Often a lot of the scenes best scenes don't involve zombies, whether it be just the shopping and the exploration of the mall and having that freedom.
It's got Keenan's dad, Ken Foree, in it.
Ken Foree, obviously, yep, he is a major player in it. I like the ending. The ending is a little bit more hopeful than you might expect, which is kind of nice considering it's quite a dark movie all the way through. It builds and builds and builds, the increasing zombie presence outside the mall, and then the eventual arrival of that gang, the zombies getting in, there's the death of major characters. It's a classic. That's the thing. It is a classic in every way, shape, or form. The negatives, makeup looks like shit. Yeah. That's really the best I can come up with. That's about it.
Yeah. You kind of think, just that one thing,
So for me, it is the best.
Yeah, it still goes in the best.
It does, because it is. Dawn of the Dead is one of the most famous zombie horrors of all time. Yeah. So it's got to go top in it. It's got to. Because when I think about it, it's Brain Dead's slapstick humour, whereas Dawn of the Dead's sort of nudge wink humour at like commercialism and that it's smart humour. Yeah. So that has to top it. It has to. Yeah. Come on, let's be realistic here. Okay, Day of the Dead, the Romero third film. Now this is where I get it. It's going to be down to personal taste. Personally, I adore the bleakness of this.
It is very bleak.
It is incredibly bleak. Although it's got a happy ending, so to speak, where it actually kind of shows that the survivors living on a remote island. So it kind of suggests that they might be okay compared to Dawn of the Dead, for example, ended up flying off in a helicopter, basically saying, we'll fly till we run out of fuel. That's not necessarily the happiest of endings, is it? Whereas Day of the Dead openly says, oh look, they landed here and they're okay. Yeah. That's quite... And I think you probably needed that because Day of the Dead is as bleak as it gets. It is... The world has ended. Zombies rule. We are forced underground. We're all gone mental.
Horrible people as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the star, Joseph Pilato.
Yeah.
As Captain Rhodes. Captain Rhodes. I mean,
he's just the
something
worst.
else.
It's weird because we've always said, like, in a lot of these zombie films, like even at the video games that you play, it's the human element of it that's scarier.
Yeah.
Because when people have no law and order, they seem to be scarier than the zombies. And in this, he's just nasty piece of work. And the setting of it, he does get his comeuppance, which is part where you cheer, because obviously
It's incredible comeuppance.
Because he kills Bub, doesn't he?
Well, he kills Bub's father, so to speak, the scientist and stuff like that. Bub is obviously the famous trained zombie, so to speak. And Pilato, Rhodes goes out in its famous style, choke on them, and it's amazing. But this film also has some of the most incredible gore effects. I always picture the guy getting the skin ripped off from his eyes there, to the guy getting his guts dug out, to just some of the effects that are the dream sequences when the hands burst out of the wall at the very start.
Such a good image, yeah.
It's a very depressing movie, but it really, I love it. To me, it's the best above Dawn of the Dead. However, I know that's just personal opinion on me.
Yeah, I'd go for it. I'd go above, just because it gets more points because of the makeup in Dawn of the Dead.
Yes, Day of the Dead massively improved that. In fact, Jesus, the opening scene with the deserted city, and you start seeing some zombies step out of the shadows when they hear the noisy humans, and you see a wide array, no longer just green faces looking human. These guys have missing chins
bits
and
pieces,
bits falling off, and there's different outfits, and
what's the year difference between them?
Oh God, I don't know. I actually don't know. 4 or 5 years, maybe. Enough to make an impact. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the jump between Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. Okay. Where Resident Evil 1, little zombies wearing those dark rags, and then you might find a scientist with a white one. Resident Evil 2 had an array where you had female zombies and men zombies and different outfits and police officer zombies. So I mean, it was like, okay, we're still zombies, but we're making it obviously different. Yeah. Okay. Top.
Definitely.
Dead Snow.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, what country is this? Norwegian? It's a Scandinavian country, so it's not in English in that aspect, and effectively it's Nazi zombies. Not the first to do this, not the last to do this. But Dead Snow famous more for two things, heavy gore and that tongue-in-cheek humour. Yeah. I didn't mind Dead Snow when I first saw it, but the thing is I never followed up on it. I've only ever seen it once. It's one of those I need to go back and rewatch, particularly as it's got a sequel.
Yeah. Did we watch the sequel?
I'm not. I didn't put it in here because I was 100% sure I hadn't seen it.
I thought we did and it wasn't as good. I'm sure we sat down.
Then I don't remember it, so that's not a good thing.
Didn't make an impact,
but truth be told, I haven't seen Dead Snow in quite a long time, and if you would have asked me right now to tell you anything about it, I'd be like, I'm sure there's a bit where a dude uses a chainsaw and it's quite gory and violent. And that's about where I run out of things.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of it obviously being in a different kind of location. The snow, and obviously blood on snow always looks pretty cool.
Yep.
And you can have there's some fun with the outfits and the whole aspect of it. In fact, I can't remember much from it. I mean, it's been quite a while since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But no scenes are really jumping out to me, so I'd go for gory enough.
Bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. After
gory enough.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because definitely from the posters and what the actual zombies looked like, they did look good. They looked proper vicious and nasty looking. So,
yeah, absolutely. Lambda the Dead. So this is Romero coming back to his Of the Dead series many years later. They're not as beloved, but certainly better than what would become after this. Lambda the Dead is a bit of a puzzling one, in that when I was younger and I watched it, I didn't really like it. Whereas now I appreciate it a lot more as a proper continuation. The idea that these zombies could learn and start to communicate and work with each other was touched upon in Day of the fucking Dead.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be a shock that evolved. Okay, but there are elements of Land of the Dead that just don't land, no pun intended, correctly. The main guy, the hero of it, I can't even remember his fucking name. That's how bland he is. I remember that movie for two actors. I remember for Dennis Hopper as a villain.
Oh, yes.
As the leader of the tower thing.
Yep.
And, what's his name? Played John Leguizamo.
Oh, yeah.
As Cholo. I remember the character's name, Cholo, who is one of my favourite things in Land of the Dead. Dead Reckoning, the giant truck that goes around blowing things up. And I love the story. The idea we had kind of learned to live in these cities and we still had this disparity between rich and poor, where the rich lived in that tower block. And it does create a lovely finale where the zombies bust in and stuff like that. There's a lot of things I like about that. Visually, I think it's really, really nice looking.
Yeah.
There's some great zombie effects. I love the early scenes where you kind of just see the desolate world.
Nice and sharp as well.
Yeah, there's that, because we've moved to a modern time. And I love, like, they're watching zombies sort of go back to their old lives. Like, there's a guy, like, he hears the ringing of the bell at the gas station. The zombie comes out, like, he's got a gasp of thing.
Yeah.
That's stuff that was touched upon in Day of the Dead, so he's expanding. I like
I
that.
like that. Is this the same dude that kind of went on to do Army of the Dead?
No,
That's a completely different guy, isn't it?
of course it is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting confused.
What do you mean, like director?
Yeah.
No, that's Zack Snyder. This is George A. Romero.
Ah, yes. I'm getting confused.
Land of the Dead.
Yes, There's a lot of the Deads. Right, okay, yes. So,
Yeah, quite different.
yeah, so the other one, Army of the Dead, was Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But there's a lot of the Dead, but there's very specific Romero stuff. Very
Right,
specific.
Okay.
But you can definitely see. Let's kind of give you a little bit of hope there. I'll throw you a line.
Okay.
You can see how Army of the Dead, for example, the modern Zack Snyder movie, was inspired by likes of Land of the Dead, maybe more than the early work.
That's probably why I'm thinking of it. Because
Maybe.
It felt a bit more. It felt less like a classic George Romero film, obviously, because it was more modern.
Mm-hmm.
And since the original trilogy, there's been obviously so many zombie films
Yep.
that kind of influence and inspire you, and so that makes more sense now.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, where do we put this one? It's not the best.
No.
But I like it more than a lot of the films in Gory Enough. Like, I want to watch Land of the Dead again.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards putting it in Brain Muncher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Okay. Night of the Comet, the 80s sci-fi movie. So this is a movie I didn't watch until a couple of years ago, and I had a blast of it. It is so 80s, from the hair and the makeup and the idea of this comet going over the world, our world, turning most people into dust and others into zombies.
Yeah. Oh.
And then you get like two girls, and they enjoy like the montage where they're enjoying the freedom and doing makeup and hair and stuff like that. I can't remember the song that's playing, but it's such an 80s movie.
Yeah.
It's got a visual quality that is so 80s, the colours in the sky. And the zombies, while there aren't loads of them, up to a certain point, they look all right. I struggled with this one. I was like, is it really a zombie movie? But it's listed under zombie movies. So I thought, you know what, put it in there. You have seen it. You enjoyed it. You were like, oh man, I wish I'd watched this when I was younger, kind of thing. Because it is such a... It's a cult classic of the 80s.
Really?
It is.
Oh. Anyone in it that's kind of
Oh, I don't know. I've only seen it once. I'd have to watch it again to be 100% sure. Like, maybe it'll be a horror review for us to do.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Then on that front. So for me, I'm just happy enough to stick Night of the Comet in Gory Enough at the end.
At the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair play.
Night of the Creeps. Interesting zombie choice here, because it's technically it's a parasite that infects you, but it does turn you into a zombie where you're dead and, you know, you're a monster, that kind of thing. Now, this is something you saw with me a couple of months ago. I'd seen it before then. This is pure entertainment. This is, again, another movie that comes from a certain era.
Yeah.
And it's very silly at times. It's got tongue-in-cheek comedy humour. But it's really a lot of fun, where it's kind of almost like an action movie at times, as the youngsters are trying to survive. You've got the detective, you know, thrill me, that catchphrase they're trying to desperately get over. But it is a lot of fun. There's a lot of good stuff. It's also got some really heavy moments, like a character in it who you really grow to love gets killed, and you're like, oh, that's really harsh.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
No, not in this type of movie that has this fun tongue-in-cheek kind of aspect to it. The zombie things look great. There's a lot of comedic sort of behaviour around it. Like, for example, one of the frat boys who turns up and he's all like dead and zombified, and they're like, oh my god, he's drunk, that kind of thing. You know? Like that's... I really like this movie.
Yeah.
To me, it's top of Brain Muncher, above Land of the Dead, because it's so entertaining, because it's clearly of its era.
Yeah.
And that fucking fits.
Yeah, and they did it well. There was films that kind of do try and kind of capture that and don't capture it as well. So, yeah, I agree with that one.
Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 colour remake.
Ooh.
So this one's specific. Now, this is a decent remake in that it doesn't really do anything different in regards to the story, beats, plays out. But the things it does different are obviously different. Yeah. And one of them is turning Barbara from a nothing, crying, useless character into a badass.
Yeah.
Personally, I prefer that. I quite prefer that.
Yeah.
It also changes up the ending.
Yeah, I always remember the ending.
Yeah, so in obviously the original Night of the Living, we won't get into it because that's on this list as well. But in a remake, Tony Todd, who plays the Ben character in this one, actually does become a zombie and is killed. So you get that part as well. But I remember for a long time this movie more than I did the original. Maybe it's because when you're younger, you want to see the colour aspect. I didn't, as a youngster, I didn't take on board the whole Barbara as a badass thing until I was older, and I was like, oh, I appreciate that a lot more. Well done for like changing that aspect of things.
I remember right at the end as well when they're kind of like they're kind of the hillbilly, like the Hicks are kind of playing with the zombies and killing them, and she kind of Barbara's like, is this what we're going to be like doing from now on?
Yeah,
like,
it's quite
the horror of that. Like we said before, the human part is worse than the zombies. So that always stuck out in my head of that last kind of quite bleak scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is the colour. I remember her haircut. I mean, it's awful, but I remember her short hair. And Tony Todd, yeah. The
major reason why it has to be ranked highly as well is, and in comparison to the original was a black and white 60s movie. The zombies didn't look like zombies. They looked like humans.
Yeah.
Just sort of staggering out. This made sure you knew there were zombies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I also think like the iconic, you know, they're coming to get you, Barbara. Yeah. People remember it from this more than anything else, you know? Strong acting all the way through. You know, the story of the dickhead guy, I can't remember his Cooper. Oh,
yeah.
And the hiding away in the attic and stuff, his daughter turning, all that aspect. It's a strong movie. Not the best.
No.
Because ultimately it's a remake and quite a static remake. Yeah. So I think Brain Muncher.
Definitely, yeah.
Top of Brain Muncher? Ooh, maybe after Night of the Creeps above Lambda the Dead.
Yeah.
Because Night of the Creeps is just so fucking entertaining. If you've never seen Night of the Creeps, make sure you go check this bad boy out. It's a lot of fun. And then we go back to the classic, the original. The originator of the zombies as we know them now. Not the first zombie movie, of course, but the original of the zombies we know now. It's Night of the Living Dead. Public domain. You could watch it. Yeah, I could play Night of the Living Dead right now and not get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
The entire movie back. That's why you often see it in the background of horror movies.
Films, yeah.
Things like Nosferatu, a lot of them are public domain, so you can kind of play them, not have an issue. It's famous. It's Night of the Living Dead. It's iconic. It was very brave for its period, for its time. Putting a black man in a lead role was incredible. It's black and white, of course, so you've got that aspect to it.
Imagine seeing that at the cinema for the first time. It would be quite chilling watching that
I
at the cinema.
can't even imagine because it was zombies had never been done like that in cinema before. Yeah. You know, it's very bleak. There's a lot of cool aspects about it. I always like the scene where the zombies are kind of like frightened by the fire. I think that was a cool little touch because it was also a bit of a throwback to a sort of earlier voodoo style zombie thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it coined a lot of iconic lines and scenes. It's the best. But here's the thing: like, is it? Well, actually, I'm trying to think now because I don't want to get caught in the whole. Well, it's Night of the Living Dead,
so it
automatically
gets a free pass.
Is it like when I look at what's in the best? They're all more fun. They're way more entertaining. I enjoy them more. I look at Night of the Creeps. I look at above the remake after Night of the Creeps.
Yeah.
That seems a fair place for it, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Like it takes its place above the remake.
But it's still in the same category as it. Yeah.
But Night of the Creeps ultimately is more entertaining for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a personal list, isn't it? Yeah.
And so even the fact that it started off the whole genre.
As we know it, yeah.
Yeah. What came from it, kind of grew and grew. So yeah, it has to be kind of high.
An odd one, and one we quite saw recently. One Cut of the Dead. Now this is more of a comedy than anything else. But we were baffled watching this for ages, and then when we watched this movie slowly come together, we were stunned by just the general cleverness behind it. So effectively, you're watching a making of a movie within a movie.
Yeah.
About a zombie. Low-budget zombie horror.
Yeah.
And it is stupidly entertaining.
The setting's great, like the way it was the way it all pieces together, and the certain camera angles. Because when you first start, you're like, where are we going with this?
You begin watching effectively the rough cut of this low-budget zombie thing.
Badly acted.
Yeah, and then you kind of pan back, and then you're like, okay, no, they're making it, and then you go back in time to see how it's being created and all the problems that came along with it.
Yeah.
And it's such a character-heavy, entertaining movie. Yeah. Like it's a movie that ends up putting a big smile in your face.
Yeah, especially because sometimes you kind of take a punt on film and you think, oh, okay, something grabbed you about it, but it kind of paid off. So yeah, I'd put it hard. I'd put it Brain Muncher.
So would I. The only thing I would say that knocks it down a bit is simply put, is it's not really a horror movie per se, because it's more of a comedy where they're trying to make a horror movie.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of things. So,
what with Brain Muncher?
Well, we've got Lambda the Dead.
I still go bottom with Brain Muncher because it's bordering.
Yeah, okay, because it is such a good movie.
It's definitely worth a watch.
That it's, it deserves to be given a high spot. Yeah. Odd one here, and one I haven't seen in a long time, but when I remember it, I always remember it standing out, Planet Terror. This is the Quentin Tarantino zombie flick, the combination. He did that one with the Grindhouse stuff. So the one with the car driving dude, and then Planet Terror. A Rose McGowan with a leg and a gun.
Yeah, I remember that.
Bruce Willis. The infection becomes all bubbly and gross looking. Very violent. All squibs exploding everywhere. Pus, blood and guts and everything like that. It's an action horror movie. Yeah, people seem to love this. I never really rated it that highly. I always thought it was alright at best.
I think people got excited when it's all Quentin Tarantino and zombies. Fuck yeah, I'm in kind of vibe about it. So I remember her leg, because that was pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
And a few bits, but I don't remember it that well. I think I did see it a long time ago and I've never seen the other one. The double the second part of it. So yeah, it doesn't really stick out for me, so I don't know where you want to take
I know exactly where I'm going to put it. Soggy Mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put it down low. Because I just don't really care for it. It's nothing I want to watch again.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, unfortunately I don't think you've seen this one. Pontypool. This is one of the more unique modern zombie horrors I'd seen. It does a completely different take in it, which is to do with sounds over the airwaves. Turning you into sort of violent zombies. Okay. And basically the majority of this movie, if not all of the movie, I can't remember, is it all the movie? Most of the movie takes place simply in a radio DJ's booth, which is this one guy in there talking across the radio and kind of washed up rock star kind of thing as chaos starts to erupt out and around and then eventually arrives to him. And the ending to it is simply one of the best endings I'd seen in a horror movie for a very long time.
Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it, but it is one of those where you generally like, when it ends, you're like, no, you can't, no. And you're sitting there going, like, you couldn't, like, you ended it without telling me what happened, but I'm more than okay with that.
Okay.
Because it involves heroics and doing something of a character, because ultimately this guy, the lead character, is not likeable at all. Okay. That's the point.
UK film?
Yeah, it's Welsh.
Welsh,
yeah. Welsh. What's the clue?
Well, no, there's a film called something Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, and that's not in Manchester.
That is set in England though, and that went under a different name originally. Let Sleep on Corpses Lie.
Oh, okay.
So for me, Pontypool is a film I really urge people to go see because it does something a little bit different. But I acknowledge that it's not up there amongst the others. I'd put it in gory enough, but for me, top of gory enough because of its unique nature, its unique storytelling, how harrowing a bit at times, and that ending that I just adored.
Yeah. Nice.
Reanimator. I mean, the H.P. Lovecraft story, adapted, one of the best adaptations ever of Lovecraft's work is very hard to adapt, and we've seen it by pretty horrendous adaptations throughout the many years. Every so often they nail it. Call Out of Space is a good example of a modern movie that nailed an adaptation, and Reanimator adapts something which was a short story and turns it into something very special. It turned Jeffrey Combs into a superstar. It's had sequels that are just as fucking good, if not better. Bride of Reanimator is arguably better than the original Reanimator. But Reanimator comes with so much iconic scenery, imagery that you instantly recognise. The picture I'm using is of Jeffrey Combs holding up the vial with the glowing liquid in it. Yeah. You know it. You can picture the headless thing, the going down the woman, the headless corpse.
Oh God,
There's so much fucked up shit in this, and it's incredibly violent, it's incredibly gory, but it's also incredibly entertaining. Yeah. This is the best.
Yeah. It has to go.
Yeah. I want to put it in between Day and Dawn because I like Reanimator so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice place to be.
Split those two. Reanimator's just such a fucking great movie. Yeah. Okay. Rec 2. We begin with Rec 2 to begin with. It's not an order, so Rec is here, but it's just randomly ordered. Rec 2. So this is a sequel to the original Rec, and comes with a lot of flaws. It basically continues the story directly on, advances a little bit, but then introduces this idea of possession in it. Problem is it follows a lot of the same beats, and I wasn't in love with the possession angle. We've done this in movie reviews in depth as well, so you can get a lot more detail about what we actually thought about Rec 2. The thing is, and this is still very important, still not a bad movie.
No. as we said about the whole series, like when it kind of doesn't hit the highs of certain films, they're still pretty
never
good.
dips low. Never
Acted well.
Yep.
And it always feels quite claustrophobic and tense, so it never lets up. So I'd still put it high. I'd say gory enough, because I don't think it's a soggy mess.
Yep.
But I don't think it's higher than
bottom
of gory mess.
Bottom of gory mess.
Gory mess. Gory enough.
Gory enough. Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah, gory enough. Yep, bottom. I agree. It's a nice play for it.
Yeah.
Here's a controversial one, because I know where we want this film to go.
Yeah.
But many people would not agree. Is Rec 3 the best of the series?
Yeah,
so Rec 3, when I first saw it, I fell madly in love with it for all the reasons that people fell out of love with it. I adored the transition into proper filming. Yeah. But I ended up falling more in love with the fact that we had a love story told in an incredible fashion by incredible acting throughout this zombie pandemic. I loved the fact that it matched up and the timing and where it fitted. And just that early hint of, oh yeah, I got bit by a dog at that. That's the dog from the first movie! Yeah. Oh, when chaos erupts at the very beginning, it's so intense. It's got an incredibly harsh ending that just makes you go, oh. Even though it's satisfying, you're just like, oh man.
It's sad, yeah, because they invest in these characters and you like them. And because it's like, you start at something so happy and so full of joy, like a wedding, you automatically feel like, and it's because it's filmed on hand, you feel like you're there, like you're watching a proper wedding. And then when you're taken out, I didn't notice a transition, like in that sense of like you can't win. Like you try something different, people go, oh, well, it's not like the first one, and then you don't do that, and people go, oh, it's just the same.
Yeah.
So it is obviously it's preference, but I like the fact they did something different.
I love that. So you've highlighted 2 points that I want to go further into, right? The found footage part of this movie is done in a style that it's a collection of videos from a phone and a professional camera of a wedding. And we cut through certain periods where people are talking. It actually feels like a real fucking wedding. Like it feels so authentic, the character stuff, the conversations, the families and all these things. And there's lots of stuff dropped in these scenes that will be used later on. The dog biting the guy, the veterinarian, which is where the infection then spreads from him. But there's something for later on, like to do with a hearing aid. Oh, Grandpa, your hearing aid's not on, which was so important to the ending. And you still, when you hit that point at the end, you're like, fuck's sake, damn it, Grandpa, that kind of thing. But also the transition part. So I adored the fact that it comes, oh, I've got to film to people need to know. And Koldo is like, don't be fucking stupid. Knocks the camera and smashes it. There's our transition.
Which is a fan footage gripe of ours. Of like, why do people keep filming? Because you physically got to hold it. So in that sense, it's like, just put your fucking camera away, mate. It's not winning anymore, is it? It's tragedy.
For me, it's the best. For me, it's the best. But I am going to be fair here. As much as I'd love to put it top, ultimately the classic nature of Day, Reanimator and Dawn means it can't. I want to put it on Brain Dead, but do you agree or should it go at the end, to be fair?
I think at the end.
Right, let's be fair. Because it is as well the third movie in the series, so I can argue that, it's arguable that it doesn't deserve to be up there, but it's still in the best. Coming to Rec 4, the last in the series. So Rec 4 Apocalypse, this is the one that sat on the boat. That really should have been better than it was, unfortunately, because it kind of tied everything together and noosed everything up into a neat, here's our finale. Although we dispute that aspect of things heavily, as you can see in our in-depth. It brings back Angela, doubles down on the parasite, and drops the religious angle. It's got a good claustrophobia feel about it again. It's predominantly found footage, it's predominantly non-found footage again, although we do get camera work from CCTV monitors. The problem is it just lacks characters this time. After coming off the back of Rec 3, and although it's nice to see Angela, she's a bit too muted in this. And the whole issue got the parasite in it, doesn't she, and stuff like that. It just doesn't land as well. It's got some spectacular sequences. The ending with the boat sinking, explosion, all that is great. A lot of the running through corridors is terrifying. The cook, when he's infected and you know that someone's going to eat that, that shit's pretty horrible. The build-up to when the guy's repairing the footage and you're probably going to see what happened to Angela at the end of Rec 2 is tense because you're like, oh, when they find out. So it's got, again, it's Rec. It's got good shit. Gory enough, isn't it? Alongside, I would you put this above Rec 2 or after Rec 2? Because I think it goes alongside them.
Side by side.
But above it or below it? Because I think above it because it does enough different.
Because Rec 2 just follows straight on.
And it introduces those kid characters that are just there to die.
So that makes sense.
And the original Rec. They're all here. The original Rec, it's a classic. It is a found footage horror movie that is one of the most perfect found footage horror movies you'll ever watch. It nails it. It's reason to exist. It's reason to keep on filming.
Yep.
Everything is perfect in this movie. It's terrifying. It's got a great cast of characters.
Yeah.
It's strong all the way through. It's frantic. When it slows down, it's only ever briefly. When it ramps up, it is generally terrifying. It holds one of my most horrifying, scary scenes that still affects me in it. It's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
The stairs. The ending of the movie, the mystery surrounding that, all brilliant shit.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can say.
Yeah, I say it just makes the setting make sense. It's like an urban setting, and it's all in one place as well. So you don't get the trouble of it going to different areas and you lose plots of people. You're focused. You're there. Some people don't like obviously because of the subtitles, but give it a go.
Is it subtitled? Watch Quarantine if that's your problem. Then you'll get a lesser movie, but it's a shot-for-shot remake. So if it really bothers you that much, but I think you'll be missing out on a lot of the frantic nature that comes with this fastly spoken Spanish language.
Yeah, definitely. It really kind of hypes you up. When
Absolutely.
Kind of, panicking each other in a Spanish accent so quick, so fast. So yeah, definitely.
The best.
Yeah.
Where? This is where it gets really hard. It's got to go high.
Yeah.
After Dawn, Ahead of Brain Dead?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because Rec wouldn't exist without the likes of Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, you know? That's the simple fact of it. Comedy horror for you now, Shaun of the Dead. Who doesn't know Shaun of the Dead? It is a comedy horror that does horror well at times, but is also very, very funny and a nice parody play on the classic zombie horror movies.
Yeah, I think
you kind of forget because you've seen it a lot and it's parodied so much and it's used in pop culture so much. I think you forget just how good a film it is.
It is so good,
and it really is.
It's just like even like the at the early part where Sean's hungover. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't know.
The one shot, and it's the one shot camera. The what do they call it? The following camera. That one. Where they don't cut. So it's from the moment tracking shot from when he leaves his house and walks down the street all the way to the shop, and then in the shop it continues, never cutting as you go through all his parts and stuff. He slips in the blood.
Slips in the blood. He thinks he's hungover. Yeah. And he just doesn't think to kind of question, there's no one around.
The same thing he's done every day, he's doing again, but it's now zombified. Like the bum that, but there's a zombie.
That kid.
Yeah, he's walking past crashed cars and chaos. People are running around in the distance. Yeah. That's excellent. That is excellent. But then there's great fun stuff as well, battering zombies to the sound of Queen, Don't Stop Me Now. Yeah. But then from that you get some horrible scenes. Dylan Moran's character ripped apart in the style of, to a degree, pulled out in the style of Barbara from the original Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. We get a lot of that violence. It's got Sean's mum. That's very downbeat as well. Yeah. It's not the best because I don't want to put it best as a comedy horror, but I want to put it high.
Brain Dead's in there. Brain Dead's comedy horror. So if you're going down them rules.
But no, the amount of gore on Brain Dead.
I'd still hold this up as like the best.
Oh, so I'd put it top of Brain Muncher.
Oh, so I'm gonna try and fight for it to go in the best. Honestly,
I still want to put it above Rec 3, man.
You can tell the love of of zombie films that went into it, and it's
okay, you can have this one. Alright, Ahead of Brain Dead, but not above Rec.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Where are we up to? The Dead Next Door. You won't know this one. It's a very old movie, very low budget. That surprised me when I saw. So basically, I bought this on DVD at the time because the cover blew me away, which was this half black cover and half a face of a zombie with like a cage around his mouth, and it's fascinating. It's kind of a zombie world where this team of humans go around hunting zombies, so to speak, zombie hunters, that kind of thing. There's a lot of very cheap, very low budget, almost nasty, but not nasty, not an actual nasty. Yeah. It's in that style. But I always remember it for the religious cult aspect and that ending and the gore that comes with that religious cult part. The gore involving that zombie at some stage blew my mind away. It's got comedy elements and quite violent things. There's the machete in the shoulder part's quite graphic as well. But I always remember the ending, which is the reversal of the roles of these guys being turned into zombies and then becoming human hunters instead.
Would you watch it again?
Yes, I haven't seen it in a very, very long time. Like, it entertained me. I remember it well enough to put it in this list. Okay. So for me, it's gory enough, and I'm going to put this, because of its error, above Dead Snow after Dawn of the Dead remake.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. Where are we up to? The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. Or Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. So you haven't seen this, of course.
No, because I keep thinking it's set in England.
So this is obviously a zombie horror that's based around the spraying of crops that infects thing and stuff. It's a video nasty. It's why it's in here. We are going to eventually cover it in the nasties. Here's the thing. Like, this is a movie I remember for one thing and one thing only: being really boring for a lot of the time, and then being really fucking violent. And that's an interesting balance. That's kind of the nasty kind of thing. I remember a lot of the scenes in the hospital. I remember how the zombies look here. And what always freaked me out about this movie is they do the zombies in a way where it's like, shit, they actually look like reanimated dead.
Oh.
Like, they actually look, we're not talking gory, dripping blood. You're talking about, you died like a couple of days ago and now you're walking around.
Oh,
that's,
I'm intrigued.
That's interesting. I find that quite chilling.
But the story wasn't...
I find it very dry and very boring, which is why it's going to go on Soggy Mess at the top of it.
Okay. Look forward to seeing that one then. Intrigued.
Well, we will get to it, of course. The Return of the Living Dead Part 3. This is the third movie of the series, and the one that once again changes it up completely different, trying to tell a Romeo and Juliet style story, but under the auspice of zombie apocalypse. Well, not apocalypse, zombie horror movie, because it never reaches that stage. It's very localized horror in here. And it's got tentative ties to the original in regards that it's the barrel, the toxin, and the reanimation of dead and the indestructible nature of them. But it changes some things up. For example, the tarman in the barrel and how they look and stuff like that.
Security still lacks.
It has its issues. The main story surrounds the love story between the two main characters. She dies, he reanimates with the toxin, and she can't fight the urge to eat brains and stuff like that. And I like that because it ties back to the original about the constant hunger. What you remembered for this movie, what you'll always remember, is how fucking ridiculous, gross it is. Yeah. Gross it is. And we're talking about the mutilation of the bodies. Yeah. And that is something was harrowing for me to watch as a kid. Yeah. It's my second favourite movie in this series. Which isn't saying much though. Because, we have the original trilogy, and that ranking's easy. And then we have the two that came later on via the Sci-Fi Network, which are so fucking bad, they're not even in this list. Yeah. So, it's not saying much, but you watched it with me, and there are things that don't hold up. Some of the effects are terrible, like the shopkeeper that gets his head chopped off. Oh, yeah. That is crazy, and the effects are horrendous. Yeah. The sort of caricature of the Hispanic gang. Yeah. The military fucking, as you said, the military security is disgraceful. His card report is stolen, yet a week later it still apparently works to unlock this. I mean, come on, guys. Well, you're doing the zombie experiments and reanimating the dead. But it's got a really downbeat ending, a really strong one. Yeah. And I like it a lot. Yeah. For me, it's gory enough. Yeah. And I want to kind of put it near the top. Yeah. Because it stood out for me, you know? I'm going to put it at the top, above Pontypool. Cool. Return of the Living Dead Part 2. The comedy horror one. Yeah. So I don't know what their idea here was. I don't get it. I still don't get it to this day. And basically they went, oh, you know all that stuff in the original? Forget all that. What we're going to do is copy Night of the Living Dead. So zombies are now going to be more traditional, but we're going to make it comedy. And it's going to be slapstick, groan-inducing slapstick comedy. And we're talking zombies coming out of graves and getting their hands stepped on. One coming out and having to put glasses on. At the end, when they get electrified, Michael Jackson runs in and does a Thriller dance before falling over. It's comedy that, as a kid, you're like...
yeah, when you go, you're like...
Nope. No. It doesn't. It's terrible. Yeah. But I have to talk about the things I really do like about it. So obviously it brings back two characters, Don Matthews and Ed Karen as James Karen. Ed's his character. Yeah. Ed Karen. My head, that's wrong. James Karen to play the similar roles but different this time round, and they have a certain scene where they talk about feeling really familiar and aspects like that. They also acknowledge the fact that this time James Karen got to become a zombie because he was originally supposed to become one in the original movie, but did not want to go out in the rain because he wasn't feeling great. Yeah. So they did it this time round. It has some horror scenes. Yeah. The mother that gets her skull, bitten into by her son, the sound of the crunch, that shit's pretty good. It's got some gore. Some good effects in the hospital where the zombie gets cut in half looks really, really good. So it's got stuff going for it. The lead character, the boy, isn't the worst. He's a little bit annoying, but he's not the worst. And the story kind of moves at a peppy enough beat. It's just the comedy is so focused and so poor.
And doesn't age well, does it?
No. For me, this is a soggy mess.
Yeah,
it is.
I'm totally agreeing with that.
And I'll put it top of soggy mess because of the Return of the Living Dead stuff.
Yep.
Here we go. Now we are talking personal opinion. Yeah. Because to me, this movie has to go top of the best. It is the Return of the Living Dead, my favourite horror movie. Favourite zombie horror movie of all time. The more I watch it, the more I grow to appreciate it, the more I notice things. I love it for its flaws as much as anything else. Because those flaws don't take away from it. It is an intense horror movie that once it starts off hot, and then once it hits full gear, never fucking stops.
Yeah.
The acting, the incredible cast of characters, how memorable every single one of them are.
Yeah.
To its incredible use and difference of zombies for me, to making me go, wow, this is what I want. I love the indestructibility, the scenery, the working, the talking, the idea of having a talk with a zombie. That's so intense because of how close, Ernie gets to its face and he's sweating. He is such Don Califfa.
Oh.
Rest in peace. Wow, in this movie. And it's so intense all the way fucking through. The Tarman effects.
Yeah.
Great stories from it. The cast and how and there's documentaries on this movie now. To that fucking ending.
Yeah.
To the music.
Yeah, like even like smaller scenes about the zombies, like the fire, when he's spreading all the bodies, getting into it himself. Oh yeah, this is all really, really good.
It's incredibly fun, entertaining, tongue-in-cheek comedy, and then you get these dark moments, where what's his name? Frank, Ed Karen, James Cameron's character in it, kills himself.
Yeah,
is fucking harrowing shit.
I remember when they're the two guys, Ed and I can't remember the younger guy's name. Ed's the older one.
Yeah, Ed. Oh fuck.
The younger one.
You're talking about Frank. Frank's the older one. What is it? Fuck, it's Tom Hanks' character.
Freddie.
Freddie, that's it.
Yes, that's it. When they're turned into zombies, the noises they make.
It's painful. Yeah. They do this in a way that it's designed to make you feel like, and the sweat patches underneath. Yeah, it's a real different take. It's to me, and this, bear in mind, is our tier list, so it's personal. Top of the best.
Yeah.
The best zombie horror ever.
Yeah.
We're doing it. Although this one's going to have a damn good shout. It's Train to Busan.
Yeah.
Train to Busan is obviously a modern Korean zombie horror movie that kind of came out of nowhere and captured everyone's imagination by not necessarily doing something different with it, but you know how World War Z wanted to do these sort of fast-moving, massive zombies, but went, we can't really be bothered to do it properly. Let's just make them all CGI. Train to Busan went, no, let's do it properly. Yeah. Extras and let's go crazy. Yeah. But alongside, and it's got some great tension scenes. But alongside that, guess what it has? A stunning cast of characters that you will fall in love with, get behind, and just want to see get through this movie. A great father and daughter story. Yeah. The sequence of being split up on opposite ends of the train and having to fight your way through the zombies. Yeah. Adding a touch where the zombies are blind in darkness. Added this new level of tension.
So good.
It's a great fucking zombie movie. It's in the best.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where do we put it?
Ooh. I'd go above Shaun of the Dead. In that little nook.
Yeah, I suppose Rex had more impact. Yeah, I reckon that's a good place for it. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, couple more. Warm Bodies. So this is the adaptation of the story.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be straight up. The book is 10 times better than the film. And here's the thing. I get why people wouldn't like it. What do you mean a zombie falls in love and starts to turn back to human and stuff like that? Guess why I loved it? I loved it because I got to read and experience a different take on zombies.
Yeah.
This is the thing, and this is what how many times have I expressed this in video, and I'm going to say it again. All I want now is different ideas. Yeah. Because traditional is done. It's done to death. It's 6 feet under. Yeah. It's rotting. It's a massacred corpse. Yeah. Give me something different. I got something different here, and I bought into it, and I fucking loved it. The film fails to nail that, and its biggest flaw is it turns R, the character of R, younger to make him seem more. It's Nicholas Hoult, who is a wonderful actor.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wonderful actor.
But just not in this.
But R was an older man, and that's so he wasn't. When I watched it, it wasn't my R.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that, even though I really like Nicholas Hoult, and this plays down a lot of the more violent aspects and changes the ending.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Although the book's got a darker ending, the film has a lighter ending.
Yeah.
But I think the film's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. That I like.
Nice.
I think Nicholas Hoult does the zombie really well, and particularly the narration, which is an important aspect in the book. In his head, comes across really strongly.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm happy enough for this to go in gory enough.
Yeah.
But maybe near the end, because of the unique nature of it.
Yeah.
It's got to go above Rec 2.
Yeah.
And Rec 4.
Yeah.
I think After Night in the Comet.
Yep. I'm happy for it to go there.
World War Z. Get in the fucking bin.
Yeah.
It's this is the only one we're putting in the worst likely. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it more because of how World War Z to me is a book that can't be adapted to a movie.
It's huge. The scale is incredible.
World War Z. It's there. You read that, and the book is phenomenal. Max Brooks deserved all the accolades, and the amount of sales he's got from that book, it is incredible. It is unadaptable as a movie. Guess what it is adaptable as? A TV series.
Yeah, doing more like a documentary kind of style.
Do it like the book over episodes.
Yeah.
But here's the book thing. It won't work because it'll be dry.
Yeah.
Because the book is dry. Because a lot of time it's people recounting stories.
Yeah.
And that isn't necessary. So that makes it unadaptable to me.
Yeah.
So guess what you just don't do? Leave it alone. But along comes Brad Pitt and his company and stuff, and we'll buy it, and we'll fuck it up. We'll fuck it up so much we have to keep reshooting endings to the point where it's such a mess. And what we'll do is we'll just make it, instead of focusing on the worldwide plight, we'll make it about this guy who's a hero, played by Brad Pitt. I hated this movie. I hated it. And then I remember seeing the trailers and I saw what some people thought was spectacular, which is the mound of zombies going over the wall in Jerusalem, I think it is. And I just went, oh, it's zombies. CGI.
Yeah.
And it's just, I hate it. I hate it.
It felt like it came at a time when it was like zombies were big, hot shit. And it was like, oh, here you go. Here's hundreds of thousands of zombies, all CGI. You'll like this. I always remember there's one bit really annoys me in it. I think it's piling up stuff in the airplane. But piles it against like...
Oh, the nothing door. Yeah. And all it means is when you pushed it, it just fall over. Yeah, it's just an empty fucking archway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's just silly things like that, just really badly thought out and... Yeah, no.
It's the worst.
The worst, yeah. The worst.
Two more.
Yep. And
two opposite ends of the scale. We've got a comedy horror and a straight up video nasty horror. Zombie Flesh Eaters. Zombie 2, if you want to know it by its other title. But Zombie Flesh Eaters. Obviously one of the most famous nasties out there. An incredible zombie horror with intense gore, but a really well told story from beginning to end and some iconic scenes. Yeah. Which is it the zombie versus the bull shark under the water? That incredible sequence? Is it the eye? The eye splitting in the door? Is it that particular part? Is it the zombies walking across the still moving bridge in Manhattan?
Yeah.
You know, because they couldn't stop traffic. That.
Yeah.
There's so much to this, and you hear that music, that dum dum dum. You know, it's quite iconic. I've seen this movie loads. I love this movie.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah. Just because some of the things they kind of they did. It's like before all these kind of crazy sort of made-for-TV films like Shark versus Zombie.
Yep.
Before all of this, they went for it, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, you should know it's not CGI. That's a shark.
It's a real shark. A real person,
and that's a person. You know, I'm gonna go with it. Yeah. It's an interesting one. We got quite a bit in the best. So do we put it near the? It's got to go near the end because the top is so weighted towards movies that I enjoy more.
I'd go
the end of the best.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy Rec 3 more. Brain, tell me, like... Yeah. And last but not least, Zombieland. Now, I've only put Zombieland in here on its own because I want to do 30, and this was 30.
Yep.
But I haven't seen Zombieland 2 because I enjoyed Zombieland in a bubble, and I thought that was enough. I didn't really want any more of it because the lead character, who plays him?
Oh, the one he plays Lex Luthor.
Yeah, and Social Network, he plays Zuckerberg and stuff like that.
I his name right now.
I'm not a big fan of his, and in Zombieland I find him quite irritating. But I think
you're supposed to.
I think you're supposed to a certain degree, but I also think you're supposed to want him to get the go.
Yeah.
And that isn't always the case. But Zombieland is incredibly entertaining. I remember watching it in the cinema, And the opening, we had no clue about it. The opening went and it kicked in for whom the bell tolls.
Yeah.
We were like, sweet. And that's the thing. It knows exactly what it wants to be. It's silly. It's action packed.
It gives you the rules on screen. It's one of the films that talks you through. Kind of like I picture it like Scott Pilgrim.
Yes, it's cut from the same cloth. Yeah.
And I can see why people might not like it because sometimes people think, oh, you're too clever for your own good.
Yeah.
And which is why you said he comes across as a bit smug. But then I think he is supposed to be. But yeah, I think it's his voice as well.
It is his voice.
Too much of his voice. But then you get people like Woody Harrelson popping up.
Woody Harrelson's the reason why this movie is so good. He is it's a character Tallahassee, the sort of badass all-American thing is greatly entertaining. I always remember getting quite emotional when I thought they were gonna kill him in the gunfight in the theme park at the end. I thought that was really fucking awesome. There's some great comedy stuff. Bill Murray's part in it is generally hilarious. The obsession with Twink, it's a good movie. I'm happy enough to put this in Brain Muncher.
Definitely.
But at the end, after one cut, because one cut was so original.
Yeah, definitely. Because I feel like Zombieland, it kind of took a lot of its leads from other films, and that's where he got the rules from.
Yep.
That's where he knew. That's how he knows so much because he's a nerd watching all these horror films. So yeah, that makes sense. Where
it pays tribute to zombie horror, and that's a
fun
fun aspect of it. There you go. I mean, I love that. I love how many we put in the best. Like that's we normally when we do is like 2 or 3, but we pretty much fill up that entire row. Obviously, it is personal taste, but the classics are all they need to be. I think. Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?